Not gonna lie, it feels very much like the good old days, as they say. My M6 has been back for a few weeks. I had to get it sent out for a CLA and get the shutter curtain repaired. It was having some drag issues. Now it's working perfectly fine, and I've been using it every day. As a result of that, I've got some film that I just developed, and we're going to go through the scans together in this episode of Life on Film. But first, I wanted to answer some questions in regards to this Augo film processor. I did a whole video on this thing. It's essentially an automated system to use with Patterson tanks, but I wanted to answer just some of the questions that I got in the comments on that video since I'm continuing to use it. I love this thing. Interesting video. I've developed about a dozen rules so far with mine. I seem to get a lot more leaks than you do. I even lost half my chemistry once. Other than that, I like the device too. That would definitely not be a good thing. If you're losing your chemicals during the process, especially up to half of it, that's definitely not a good thing. I have not had any leaking issues with this thing. As long as you get just a good firm seal right down here along the bottom, you shouldn't really have any mess at all, especially if you're being careful as you pour the chemicals in. You kind of have, a roughly shallow reservoir right here as you're pouring the chemicals in. So you can't just dump it as if you were, with the tank being completely, upright. As long as you're getting a good seal from the processor to the tank, I don't think you should have any issues with leaking or making a mess. Another common question I got was, what does it look like to empty the tank with this attached? Because a lot of people assumed that would also be an easy way to make a mess. I haven't had any issues with that as long as you just have a couple of big jugs. Molly, thank you. These jugs right here, if you use these, I just have these big, 4,000 milliliter jugs here. And if the chemicals are in the tank like this, I just simply hold this on top and just pour directly here. I don't pour from here because then it's going to run all the way down and get, the USB-C port wet, or I don't want anything like that. So all I have to do is just hold on to it and pour from right here. And all of the chemicals are going to come out of, this side. So it's not that complicated. It seems like it might be more complicated than it really is. Just have a big container like this to pour the chemicals in, and that will hold all of the developer that I'm going to pour down the drain, all of the water that I used for the stop bath that I'm going to pour down the drain, and then the fixer, I'm reusing the fixer. So I just put the funnel in the gallon jug of fixer that I have, and I repeat the same process. Loving the processor. I used it on these rolls here that we're going to take a look at today. All HP5, all from the M6. A combination of this 35 Ultron and the 50 Nocton. I did a video on the 50 Nocton already. I'll probably do a video on this 35 Ultron. I picked it up for very, very cheap, and I'll save my thoughts for the actual video, but that's what we're going to be looking at today. If I had to guess, this was probably after football practice one evening. Elliot's first year playing football, mostly playing center. They're undefeated, 4-0 this year. I mean, you can't teach that. Kid's All-American. It's been a good time. It's football season, barbecue season, good times. Now see, we go from this nice quiet moment here with Elliot to reality. You see what was really going on outside of this, nice, neat, tidy frame. Toys, clothes, shoes everywhere, kids climbing all over the couch and behind the cushions, under the cushions. It's a madhouse during these years, but you wouldn't change it or trade it for anything. Whether it be Nora's communication device or her iPad, her baby brother loves following around and just kind of peering over her shoulder like, what you got going on? What you watching? I don't know how else to put it. He's just a dude. Look at him. I use that 50mm Nocton quite a bit on the M11, but just recently using it a lot more for the first time on the M6, and I really like the look of that lens. Oh, dude, this is... I haven't got to share this with you guys. I had a show. So my friend Courtney works at the library, and she was like, hey, with your new book coming out, would you like to do a show at the library, just sharing work from the new book? And I was like, yeah, that'd be amazing. And so this was the hallway kind of leading to that portion of the annex building where the show was. And I just liked the way this looked, but it was also fitting with it just being this like bare, sort of like empty hallway. Because Molly and I were the only people at the show. Not the whole time, but like the first hour that we were there. Not a single person came through, which was expected. It was like 4:30 on a weekday, but Molly and I just sat in these stools in this photo right here and just talked for an hour. And it was amazing because there were no children asking us for something or interrupting conversations. It was just mom and dad getting a chance to catch up and have like a little date in the empty library. Been shooting a lot of photos with my friends Ben and AJ lately on their motorcycles, and I'm having a real hard time fighting the urge to get a motorcycle. It's the last thing I need right now, but it's the one thing I probably want the most. But we've been going out and shooting photos a ton lately, shooting stuff with the fisheye and flash, but also I wanted to go out the other day with just the M6 and shoot some kind of high key, right in the middle of the day kind of stuff with the dust and gravel and everything flying up over here in the annex. Now, I want a motorcycle to kind of go places where I normally wouldn't walk or drive my truck to take photos. I want to find new places off the beaten path with my motorcycle. I'm not going to be doing wheelies or jumps like my friends are. That's not my thing. I'd rather be the one shooting photos of it, and I'm actually really hyped on these photos we shot down here. I really wanted to get a good side profile shot of each of them on this road here, and I wanted to shoot kind of from the shadows of the trees. That way it would be at least somewhat of a silhouette, not completely, but I wanted to basically get as much of a clean outline or profile of them as I could. And I have these two photos, that's AJ, that's Ben, and I got one of each of them, and the composition doesn't change a ton, but they're actually shot with two different lenses. The one of AJ right here was shot with a 35, and then for the photo of Ben, I stepped back with the 50, trying to get roughly the same composition. These weren't shot on a tripod. I wasn't trying to get the exact same frame, but I was shocked at how similar they are despite being two different lenses and at two different distances. I think the main difference you can really see is in the hill behind them. Another thing I've been doing lately is going on bike rides with Molly and Forrest. She's going for runs, I'm going for bike rides. She's got a marathon coming up, her first actual marathon. She's done 25Ks and more than that on trails, but this is her first marathon, and I'm super stoked for her, and she's training right now for that. We just go out for a couple hours while the big kids are in school, and it is so much fun. I feel like the one thing I've talked about the most in the last probably couple of years in terms of something that I struggle with is just letting myself take photos for fun and not worrying too much about what it's going to look like, how it's going to turn out, where the photo is going to end up. Doesn't really matter that much. Just being able to get out and exercise my eyes, and I guess physically as well exercise, but getting out there with my camera and just letting myself experiment and shoot and just see whatever interests me. These bike rides I feel like have been the biggest help for that in a long time. Yeah, here's the other one. I wanted to shoot as close of the same frame as I could on this one as well, both with the 50mm Nocton, but I wanted to shoot from the start of the ride to the end of the ride. Way too much foreground in both of these. Something similar to that would really be, I think, what I would want. But that's someone's property. And this is rural Ohio, so I got as close as I'm gonna get. Letting Gene stretch his legs out after the ride before we get back in the van. Wearing his socks in the gravel, why not? Yeah, I really, really like the Nocton on film. Like I mentioned, I've been using it a bunch on the M11 prior to that, but on film it looks great. Before we wrap this one up, I'm going to take a minute to pay some bills and tell you about the sponsor of this video, KEH Camera. They've been a sponsor here on the channel for years, but they've been in business for over 40, buying and selling used photography gear. Thousands of pre-owned items that have been thoroughly tested and graded before they go up on the site, and you can shop with peace of mind, knowing that there's a 180-day warranty and a free 21-day return policy. If you ever want to shop with KEH, make sure you use the links and the codes down below. The links are going to support the channel at no extra cost to you, but using these codes, you're going to save 5% on your order or get a 5% bonus on your quote if you choose to sell your gear. So anytime you do this, make sure you use the links and codes down below with KEH. And again, thank you to KEH Camera for sponsoring this video. That's going to do it for this episode of Life on Film. I hope you enjoyed this one. We will definitely be doing more. This is my main camera at the moment. My M11 is no longer here. I've just been carrying the M6 and a few rolls of HP5 in my pocket, just like old days, and it feels good. So we're going to be doing more of these very soon. If you have any questions or things you'd like to see, please let me know in the comments down below. But that's it for today. So thank you all for watching. I love you guys, and I'll see you soon.